Hey, I hope you're all doing good. Um, have you fallen off from your vision? Have you fallen off from why you started what you started? The nonprofit, the going back to work, the staying back, leaving work, coming back home to full time take care of your family, um, whatever it is you started, entrepreneurship. There's that value you always want to add in the beginning, but have you fallen from it? We looked into that and we saw how wealth comes, we seek wealth, um, but the problem is not the wealth itself, it's our heart. How does how do we react to wealth? I give an example that I work in sales, and as a salesperson, I need to make a sale to be able to be paid, to be able to feed my family. But am I seeing my lead as to be taken advantage of, or do I want to serve them with integrity so that I go the extra mile of not just providing what I'm getting paid for, but giving them extra services so that it's not just I'm just feeding from them. It's not like a tit for tat thing. It's yeah. So this is my own encouragement I gave, because so many people might have their own views, but I believe that as we excel in everything we are doing, we need to do it with integrity, and we need to align them with God's will. What does the Bible say about this? I mean, our Father is wealthy. He has all the silver and gold. We are called to be the heads and not the tails. And that's why I did the encouragement about why Christians lay low, um, because of the comments, and because they feel like, oh, if I become known, or if I become wealthy, or if I gain this, then people will have like, oh, why are they seeking the things of the world? No, the problem is your heart. How does your heart respond to these things? Are you idolizing them? But that's for another day. Today is seeing how whatever we seek can be a hindrance to faith, or to our walk with Christ. In Luke, we see, when the ruler asked Jesus, what can I do to have eternal life? Um, and then the parable goes all along, and Jesus said, it's easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than for a rich man to enter the kingdom of God. Why did Jesus say this? It's not because the rich man cannot go to heaven. No, he can go to heaven. Rich people can go to heaven, but is how you react to what you've been given. Because as you can, I hope you can see that, I talked about waiting. People are waiting for jobs and everything, waiting for approval for their NGOs, waiting for approval for their businesses, and then we get them. What happens when we get them? We want to excel and do well with them. And then what happens from there? It's like a domino thing. You want to grow, you want to do well, you want to serve. But as you do that, there things along the way that comes and makes us fall from the road. And that's why I wanted to continue with this, so that for me it actually an encouragement to me, because you wait, you get it, you want to grow, but are you growing in kingdom principles? Are you growing in the kingdom way? So the rich guy can go to heaven, but it's how he reacted to wealth. um God is the one who gives us power to make wealth. Let's not forget that. It's not about lack. It's not about, no. God gives us the power to make wealth, and it can be used appropriately. But we don't have to put our wealth to the point that it hinders our worship to God, as looking to God for help. Because David said, I look to the mountains, where does my help comes from? My help comes from heaven, from God, the maker of heaven and earth, paraphrased. But if we start seeking the things of the world, or the things we were waiting for, and they've come, so we've started excelling in them, and then we forget where we started, what really matters, the basics, then we start to idolize these things. We start to react like the rich man, so that we are so entangled with them that we don't want to let them go. So the ruler, Jesus speaks about him. He could not part away with his worldly possessions in order to follow God. That's when you realize that that something is hard. I was reading this book, the 5 a.m. Club, and the rich guy, the billionaire, gives tips that he was given by his mentor. And he says, oh, once in a while I just fast. Once in a while I sleep on the floor just to feel how, to stay grounded. But of us as Christians, we also fast. Not even Christians, we have our Muslim brothers who also fast. So what's your reason of fasting? Is it to also see how it is to lack? Or is it as telling God, like, you know what, food is not big to me. I want to give you all my attention, because that time you'll be preparing food, you'll be, spending time with God. So that's you being able to distance yourself from the things of the world because you want to seek God. But if you have difficulties with this, then know that we still need to ask for more grace for this. It's not like we will never get there, but if you have more and in the beginning it's kind of hard, but as you go on and ask for God's help, He'll be able to do it. Because God has given us everything we need. God in this world, He's has all the silver and the gold. He told his disciples not to take anything when they were following him. He told them, just take your sandals and the clothes, don't even take bread. Just come as you are. But are we willing to come as we are, expecting that He will give us everything? If you have a vision now, or you want to go into business, or God is calling into missionary work, and you have no idea where money is gonna come from, or resources, let's not just limit it to money, resources, where it's gonna come from. Are you willing to come the way you are, just as like the disciples came? Of course, we live in a reality world. You cannot just say, oh, I'm quitting my job to do this. If God has called you to do that, well and good, but I'm just talking in terms of realness. Like, are you willing to, when you have that confirmation from God, are you willing to go forth without you holding on to the things around you? So the man went sorrowfully. He was sorrowful because he could not fulfill the desire to follow God. He could not depart from his possessions. So many things could hinder us from following Christ. Wealth is one of them. The things of the world, children, spouses, jobs, when we begin to idolize things, they could hinder us. So sometimes we have to be uncomfortable to actually get comfort, and that's in terms of spiritual ness. Like, there's some prayers which may take you to kneel down until you have pain, and it's not about having pain. I hope you know what I mean. There's some prayers, like I gave an example of a time in my life when I did popcorn prayers. Oh, thank you, God. But there's some seasons where it calls you to kneel and seek God. Like you kneel and get the pain. And it's not like if you get the pain, then you get the answer, but it's the Spirit nudges you to seek Him in a certain way. And it calls for discomfort, but that discomfort reminds you when you get the breakthrough. It's sweeter when you actually had to go through so much. Paul calls us to be content. So I already gave this example that wealth is not evil, because wealth, it's not evil, but it can hinder you to faith. But also it can be a result as a result of faith. So what really matters is how you react to wealth, so that it's not an obstacle to your faith. Because the man, we can see that from the example of the man, he was reluctant to give his wealth. And you can see that is an obstacle for him having faith to follow Christ. Matthew 6, do not store up for yourselves treasures on earth where moth destroy them, but store up your treasures in heaven. And it ends with saying, where your heart is, where your treasure is, your heart is. And one last thing, so how do we go with this? How do we move forward? I think it's just taking steps of faith and asking God to align our heart's desires with His will, and also taking another step and telling God. I think it's praying those radical prayers, like Mark 9:42. If your hand causes you to sin, you cut it off. So not literally, but if it's your job or this promotion, or if you're asking for God for promotion, I always like to pray and say, God, if you see anything in my heart that is hindering you to speak to me or you to move in my life, if this is gonna hinder, then just close that door. And He's faithful. He knows. When He knows the desires of your heart is to excel, but He also knows that in excelling, you don't want to stray away from Him. He will reward. He will answer you. He will answer you. So yeah, I just felt like this was something I wanted to share as someone who works, who is employed, and who wants to do and excel in what I do at my employment. Yeah, I want to be the head and not the tail. I want to excel, make good sales with integrity, so I can feed my family, I can be a blessing to those around me. And I want to pray in faith. So wealth can be as a result of my prayers and trusting God. And in so doing, I want to trust God and pray that wealth will not hinder. When wealth comes, it will not hinder my service to the community and my heart toward Him. So I hope for you the same. And yeah, this was what was in my heart to encourage us today. Have a blessed day. Bye bye.